Hello everybody, welcome to another episode of Project Dream. If you're new to the channel, welcome. My name's Adrian. I'm the creator of North Dakota Car Guy, this YouTube channel. And on today's episode of Project Dream, I'm going to be showing you how to remove all the emissions rat's nest stuff. Stay tuned. Alright, so you just got, well, I need my face in the shot, I guess. So you just got yourself a 13B, RX-7, you know, whatever, and you want to take out a lot of this stuff. Now, the emissions control unit was designed to keep this car eco-friendly, basically. The only problem with that is it really toned down the power of this engine. That and getting, you know, carbon inside, you know, just making everything a lot more complicated. So the first thing you will definitely 100% need when doing this and deleting your stuff is getting block-off plates. So we have various block-off plates here for many different things, so I'll just go through them one at a time. If you just want to skip this whole part, you already know what everything is, just go ahead, skip to whatever numbers on the screen or whatever. And I'll have timestamps in the description for you to go through whichever part you need to get to ASAP. So for you guys who are not sure what any of this stuff is, we got ourselves 4 different plates here. So we got our first plate here, and this is going to be for the Air Pump Delete. Now normally there's a big pump that's sitting right here, but I took that off in the front accessories video, so be sure that's episode 1. You can check it out on the playlist. It's the very first video, episode 1. So check that out if you want to learn how to delete that with this in the car. But then where that routes to is that routes to the solenoid back over here. And so this plate is basically going to be getting rid of that. Then we have our middle plate here. And this plate here is actually going to be going, I'm not able to show you yet, but this goes underneath all of this intake manifold stuff. This was another part of the system to just help you know, keep the emissions down, and it was a pressure solenoid, I believe. But we'll go ahead and get to that part. Again, timestamps are down below. This guy here too, this one's going to be depending on what kind of build you're doing. This guy here deletes this lower oil injection line. Now if you are deleting this, this is going to be a lot more complicated than some of the other stuff, because when we delete this, that means we have to run premix in our gas. Basically a gas and oil mixture, a lot like a 2-cycle engine. And that's going to help lubricate our apex seals. So this guy here is basically going to delete all this line here, and then we'll have to block off our oil injectors. And then this little guy right here, the very last piece, or the smallest piece I should say, this is for our cold start delete. Now this is kind of a funky little thing. This is something I recently learned. So this guy right here, this is an S4 engine, NA, so we got our intake on this side. This is our secondary fuel rail, right? There's a fuel rail that goes underneath here that we can't see. But then right here, we've got this funky little solenoid that's been disconnected. What this is a cold start help. And basically, in sub-zero temperatures, kind of like here in the northern plains, it gets to about -20, even -40 to 60, very rarely. But for whatever reason, if you need to start your rotor, the idea was that it would inject either oil or antifreeze. In this case, mine was antifreeze. It would inject that directly into here to help lubricate the rotors. But it turned out the system was actually really stupid and didn't work at all. So Mazda recalled this and was deactivated all of them. And I also found out in one of my previous videos where I destroyed that sensor that went to the radiator.
Oh yeah, just break it off.
That was actually a temperature sensor for this solenoid. So because it's broken, it's actually okay. It's not going to affect the car, but I still need it to put into my radiator. You also need a DIY gasket maker stuff. So basically, just the thread will squirt on there because these don't come with gaskets, so we kind of have to make our own. It's really simple, and we'll get to that process once we finish everything else. Alright, so now we're going to get to taking this all apart so we can get everything that we need. And I highly, highly suggest, because rotors, a lot of times people say these are just really complicated engines, they're hard to understand. It is, but everyone has to start from somewhere, right? So I highly suggest picking yourself up a user's manual like this. Don't get those little like cheap pamphlet online ones. Hard paper, get it. This will save you a lot of headaches. Be sure you can also try to join a Facebook group or join the forums. Now this engine has been around for a while. A lot of work has been done with this. I found many great info. You know, use the internet to its advantage. The internet is a tool. Use it. And once you've done a lot of research and you kind of get to know this engine better, this is going to make the process a lot easier once you understand what everything does. So now with all that aside, the first thing we need to do to get any of this off is there's this cable here. And you can see this cable actually goes from all the way up here all the way down to this solenoid, and what that does is basically it allows a certain amount of oil to come up through here. Alright, so what I want to do first, before we take anything else apart on here, is just finish getting all this electrical out. So we've got some cable here. This hooks up to the ECU wiring harness system. We're going to go ahead and just work on, getting this all taken out. Be careful with which hoses you're going to want to take off, because you want to keep track of everything you're taking off on here. So let's get going with that. Alright. There we go. This out. Pop those off. We'll take this top off. So there is our fuel line. Just scoop that out of the way. Now this is the guy actually we'll be replacing, so we're going to go ahead and take this off. So this is where we'll be installing our first lock-up plate. Smiley face, kind of from my angle. Alright, so just remember, we're just going to put this in a little bit finger tight, right? Because we want that to gellify or turn into an actual seal. And then once we've waited, I believe it's an hour, then we'll go ahead and tighten these a bit more so that we've got a tight seal. It's kind of the thing with a gasket maker. Hooray! Done! Perfect timing. Alright, so now we have access to the EGR. Pay attention to this ground wire. This has to be connected to the car, otherwise it won't start. So be sure to watch this ground cable. It's bigger, huh? Alright, so there. Oh man, look at that. Oh! Oh boy. Yeah, this has seen better days, for sure. So now what I'm going to do to get this stud out, I have 2 bolts here, and I'm sure you guys have seen this, and you bind them together. You take the bottom nut, and you screw that out. But because the top nut, which is going to be this one here, is forcing the other one down, it should hopefully loosen the stud. And then we'll tighten them. And then we go ahead and loosen the stud. And there we go. We got the stud. So go ahead and just keep loosening that up. You gotta be kidding me. Oh my gosh. It's way down there, man. Why, man? Oh my gosh. Oh! Yeah, baby! Oh my gosh, man. Oh man, that was nerve-wracking.
This is prime time rapping. You see what goes down. We're done here. It's a wrap.
Nearly crap myself. Alright, so we got some gaskets. Ultimate Black gasket maker. So we're gonna go ahead, open this up. I already busted a small hole in there. We're gonna make a gasket for this. Pop the deal in there. We don't want to get this all swooshed up. Set it on like that. Put our bolt here. Alright, so all we're going to do with this is just make it finger tight. We don't want to force this down all the way because it's going to spread out and then it's going to dry and it's going to shrink, right? So you want to have just a light pressure on it, just finger tight. And then we'll wait an hour, so as it gums up and whatnot, and it becomes more hard and it starts to shrink, then we'll torque this down so that it squishes that gasket so we don't get an air leak. So it would kind of suck to have to take everything off and do this all over again. So I'm going to go ahead and delete this stuff out, so we need to get the primary fuel rail out. So this we're going to have to remap to the intake manifold, but we'll do that at the end of the video. Loose. There we go, that actually wasn't too hard. There we go, so there is one. See, that's why, this is why we want our stuff on there, for stuff flying like that. That would have sucked if that fell in. There you go. Check that out. So I went to my local store and just picked up something relatively to the same length. I got this one mainly because I don't want this bud sticking out. I want it to be a nice flush finish. But on the one that feeds directly into the engine, we've got a shorter one here that's the same exact length, right, from the head to the end of the thread. So that should give us a nice flush finish. So now we'll go ahead and throw a little bit of blue thread locker on. So this is going to help it stay in. It'll actually also help with the vacuum. Go ahead, put that in, screw it in. Now we'll grab our smaller ones, because you don't want to grab a bolt that's too long, especially for the ones with the direct injection. Because with the direct injection, that basically shoots right into the rotor. So I actually made a mistake. I didn't account for the piece that was in there, because for the injector here, you can actually see there's a gap in there, and I figured it would just fit in all the way, but I forgot right there. There's that washer piece that backs this up. So it actually, it's only supposed to be from the head. It's supposed to be here down. So it's a really, really small bolt. So I'm just gonna go ahead and use the actual washer piece in there to keep this in. Now with those in there and with these in here now, if we take those out, take these out here, take those out, you can see that our bolts are basically like just about flush with the inside of here. So no air is going to be going in and then going into that hole, right? Because we don't want to back pressure and that create turbulence in here. It's a nice flush finish. So we'll go ahead, throw these guys back in. We'll go ahead and then reinstall our fuel injectors.
Here, slam the brake.